Welcome to the Dash Mindset Podcast. I'm Sherry Zievenbergen. You were born, you're gonna die, and your adventure is your dash in between. So make the most of it. Unlock your potential in all aspects of your dash by embracing your uniqueness and living in a way that's authentic to you, not by doing more things, but by focusing on the right things. I'm a former corporate leader turned coach who's on my own journey, and I'm passionate about helping you on your journey too. So on the podcast, we'll explore how to live authentically by deciphering who you truly are and what you truly want. Are you ready to take a step toward designing your dash? Someday doesn't actually exist, so let's do it now. Hey there, welcome back to the Dash Mindset Podcast. You know the phrase, don't work harder, work smarter? Are you familiar with that one? Maybe you've heard it a million times like I have. And maybe your reaction is the same as mine too. Every time I hear it, I kind of want to scream. And sometimes even get into the fetal position on the floor. Depends upon the day, depends upon my burnout level. Like, okay, great. So I am not only overwhelmed and exhausted and clearly can't figure out how to manage my time, I'm also too stupid to figure out how to work smarter. So the whole work smarter thing just doesn't work for me because I'm not smart enough. Thanks for that incredibly helpful advice. The truth is, for a lot of us dealing with burnout, it's not actually about being smarter. It's not about needing a better planner or better time management tools, although I love a good planner. In 1999, when I was in my first big girl job out of college, KPMG gave me my first faux leather Franklin Covey planner, and that was a magical day. But it's not just about planners and time management tools, or about finding the right morning routine or the perfect app. I used to think it was. And I used to think once I did have the right tool, routine, app, whatever, along with my faux Franklin Covey planner, I'd finally get on top of everything and I'd have it figured out. But after working with a lot of people who've been in the same boat as me, I realized burnout often has far less to do with time than it does with how you measure your worth. So let's talk about what's really happening when we feel burned out. And when we find ourselves in the fetal position, when someone says, work smarter. So most of us think burnout means we just have too much on our plate, right? Too many emails, too many meetings, too many commitments. And that's often a really big part of it. Absolutely. But here's what I've noticed both in my own life and with people I've worked with. Burnout isn't just about being busy. It's not just about having too much on our plate. It's about what's driving all that busyness underneath the surface, which is often us thinking our value, our worth is based on our productivity. When we sense that our value is tied to what we produce, or at least our perception of our value is tied to what we produce, it creates this weird trap that becomes almost impossible to stop because we can't even see it. And if we do, we don't know how to change it. Or even if we can change it, if it's even possible. It's this unconscious belief that our worth is tied to our productivity, that it's based on what we achieve. And it's this invisible yet incessant, constant pressure to prove ourselves. And not just at work, in all aspects of our lives. What we accomplish provides a sense of security. It provides a sense of importance, of approval, and that includes our own approval of ourselves. So how do you know if this is what's truly behind your burnout? Or at least a big part of it? Here are the 3 signs I see and experience all the time. The first one is if you feel uncomfortable resting. And I don't just mean I have so much to do, I can't possibly take a break today, kind of resting. I mean that even when you truly rationally do have time to rest, something inside you feels wrong about it. Like you're being lazy or wasting time. You find yourself planning tomorrow's to-do list while you're supposed to be enjoying dinner with your friends, or you're feeling guilty about watching a movie without folding laundry at the same time. There's this constant pressure to be useful, productive, and efficient all of the time, even in moments where you are expecting and wanting to connect, to just have some joy. There's this constant pressure to optimize every minute of your life as if simply existing just isn't enough. Because unconsciously, you don't think it is. You don't think it is enough. At least you don't think it is for you. A really big red flag is if you experience more guilt from resting than you actually experience recovery. So you might be on vacation with your family, secretly responding to emails because you promised your family you wouldn't even check emails. But you're responding not because the company will actually go under because you're gone, or the project will actually fail because you're gone, but because not being productive makes you feel anxious. That's not a time management issue. That is tied to your value, or at least your perceived value, and what you unconsciously think you're worth when you're not productive. Something my husband used to do when he didn't know any better was he would insist that I relax. And by relaxing, he meant sitting down. And so sometimes I would say, fine. I would appease him and I'd sit for about 2 minutes before I was about ready to crawl out of my skin. And I would say, this is about the least relaxing thing I could possibly do. This is not my definition of relaxation. I'm certainly not feeling restful right now. So keep in mind, I also have restlessness going for me too, which makes it especially challenging for me to sit still. But whether you are a restless person or not, if you're one of those overachievers that feels like your worth is tied to your productivity, it's going to be hard for you to sit still too. It's just going to be hard to sit. So my husband doesn't do that anymore. He figured out it didn't work out. So we've moved on from that. But if this is something you have experienced, it's a red flag. Okay, second sign is that positive feedback actually adds pressure for you. This one's sneaky because it seems like an especially good thing. Now, all of these things seem like they're good things because our brain is telling us that they are, even though our brain is often irrational, right? But this one's especially sneaky because when people are calling you the reliable one, the go-to person, the one who's going to figure it all out, that's all great, right? But what happens is that this reputation starts to feel more like a prison and you don't even realize it. Now you feel like you can't slow down or ask for help because you've built this identity as the person who gets stuff done, right? And most of this isn't even conscious. But you start worrying that if you stop showing up at 110%, whatever that even means, people are going to be disappointed, or worse, realize you're not as capable as they thought. Any of that sound familiar? And if it does or it doesn't, this is something to keep in mind with not only yourself, but the people on your teams too. Because if you are a leader determining who to give things to, you're usually going to give it to someone who's going to get it done, right? So the ones who have the most to do, the ones who are getting the most done, get even more. And oftentimes as leaders, we're the ones responsible for that. Because you know they're going to do it. So this is even possible with our kids. One of my kids actually called me out on this the other day and asked why I never asked his brother to sweep the kitchen. And it occurred to me, oh my gosh, I am doing this. I am doing the thing. And I said, that is a good question, buddy. That's a good question. I am glad that you asked. I will have to think about that one. So I have to put more thought into that. But truly, we need to think about for ourselves and what we do with other people. And if we're putting them in that same situation. Okay, third sign. Saying yes to things, even when you're completely tapped out. And look, we all do this sometimes. Sometimes life demands it. It's part of life. But pay attention to why you're saying yes. Are you genuinely being helpful, or are you avoiding the discomfort of letting someone down? Has no become this forbidden word because disappointing someone will confirm your fear of not being enough? When your decisions are more about managing how others see you than protecting your own energy, that's a huge red flag. Setting boundaries can feel dangerous, like it might actually threaten your relationships and how much you're valued. So something to consider. So what do I do with all this? I'm not going to give you 10 strategies or another time management tool to use. You likely have enough of those. And that's unlikely the root problem. Because honestly, that's not the level where this needs to be addressed. Instead, I want to offer one reflection question that can be really powerful if you take the time to ask it. If I believed I was already enough, what would I do differently today? If I believed I was already enough, what would I do differently today? Not 10 years from now. Not when this project is finally done. Not when you get the promotion. If you didn't need to earn your value through productivity, what would change? This is not a quick fix. It's something to really sit with and think about, because often the pressure we feel isn't actually coming from our partner or our clients or our boss. It's coming from us. It's the story we're telling ourselves about what makes us valuable. And here's one small shift to try this week, or try today. Make one decision today that supports your energy, not your image or your worth. Make one decision today that supports your energy, not your image or your worth. That might mean saying no without over-explaining why. It might mean asking for help instead of working late to figure it out on your own. It might be as simple as taking a real lunch break without being on your laptop, or watching a movie without folding laundry at the same time. That one still makes me twitch a little, but I'm getting better. Just notice what comes up when you give yourself permission to actually rest. Notice if you resisted. Notice discomfort. That's valuable information about what's driving you. So I'll wrap this up. The big idea here is that burnout isn't always just a time management issue. It's often a signal that we need to pay attention to, that we're trying to earn something that we already inherently have, our value. You don't need to prove your worth through overwork. The goal isn't necessarily to do less, although this might be part of it. It's to do things for the right reasons. It's to do things in alignment with your actual values rather than your fears. If this conversation brought something up for you, even a little twinge of something, I encourage you to take a few minutes after the episode to reflect, to just think it through and maybe do some journaling. Because these patterns go really deep and they're really hard to see, and recognizing them is the first step. Remember, you were valuable before your to-do list existed. And you might feel like you had a to-do list when you came out of the womb. I know I have questioned that before, but my mom, I think, would have mentioned it. So just know that your to-do list came later, and you were valuable the moment you were born. And you'll be valuable regardless of how many items you check off your list today. I hope this was helpful. Please reach out if I can help in any way. This is something I am continuing to work through and always will be, but it's gotten better and it can get better for you too. So thanks for being here, and I will catch you the next time on the Dash Mindset Podcast. Thanks so much for listening to the Dash Mindset Podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast player, tell your friends, and leave us a review. Follow me on my social media platforms highlighted in the show notes, and get in touch with me at thedashmindset.com. Share the topics you'd like me to explore in future episodes. Thanks again for listening to the Dash Mindset Podcast. We'll see you next time. Design and differentiate your Dash your way and make today amazing.